My name is Benny Peiser. I'm the director of the Global Warming Policy Foundation. 2 weeks ago, the outgoing European Commission proposed new EU-wide CO2 emissions and renewables targets for 2030.
We are therefore proposing a binding 2030 greenhouse gas reduction target for the European Union of minus 40% relative to 1990. That is ambitious but feasible.
Today, the Commission has made it possible for investors to get the certainty they need in good time before 2020. And we have made it possible for EU to play its role to the full in the run-up to the International Climate Conference in Paris.
This announcement was reported in the media as if the EU has already adopted these aggressive new targets. This is, however, not the case. In reality, the EU Commission only proposed a conditional offer as a negotiation card to be played during the 2015 negotiations at the UN Climate Conference in Paris. These proposals stand at the very beginning of a long negotiation process.
The European Commission has proposed new climate and energy targets up to 2030. 2030 goals for climate and energy. Europe is showing the way towards a safe and prosperous low-carbon future for our planet and our economy.
There is no certainty that the proposed targets will remain as stringent as currently proposed. The European Council would only be able to agree a legally binding 40% emissions reduction target if all member states accepted new nationally binding CO2 targets. The European member states are deeply split on both climate and renewable targets. While some countries like Britain and Germany are in favor of aggressive new CO2 limits, many other member states in Eastern and Central Europe are against any new unilateral targets as long as major emitters around the world like China, India and the US do not sign up to similar targets.
To think that with 4.5% of global emissions you can save the world is not realistic, is arrogant or is stupid. Just and only a global commitment can be relevant and can be a successful story looking beyond 2020.
In the absence of an international agreement, it is very unlikely that the EU will adopt any new unilateral targets. The EU has made it perfectly clear that it is no longer willing to go it alone. And the reason why Europe is unwilling and hesitant is that renewables and climate policies have become extremely unpopular and costly. The deep split among EU member states and the uncertainty about the targets has significant implications for Britain's very own climate policy, with a real prospect of UK emission targets being scaled back significantly. The government is split on the fourth carbon budget. The Climate Change Committee is proposing a 50% reduction in CO2 emissions, but George Osborne, the Chancellor, has made absolutely clear that Britain will no longer adopt any new targets that go faster or deeper than other European countries. So in the absence of a European agreement, any new targets in the UK are also unlikely.